Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday evening. It is 9 o'clock. Time for a Tuesday night blether. But first, as always, a little music. Enjoy.
We are all the heirs to Scotland, as a nation proudly stand. We will march beneath her banners to protect our ancient land. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let a flag mean freedom and not a battle drum. To the world we bid a welcome in 1,000 different ways. We will toast to long lost friendships as we build our better days. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum. We are all the heroes of Scotland. We're a nation hand in hand. We will march beneath her banners to protect our ancient land. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum.
Good evening, folks. Hope you're all well. Hope you're all safe. And I hope you're all comfy. So here we are again. Tuesday night. Doing a live stream. Ba-bam. Oh, there's Toffee. Good evening, Toffee. Streaky Bacon. Good evening, Streaky. Thanks for that, Streaky Bacon. Appreciate that, of course. As I do all your kind words from everyone. This seems to be a a real nightmare that's going on at the present time in the National Health Centre with Nurse Ratchet. Good evening, William. I hope you're all right. Good evening, Baz. Skywalker is with us. Skywalker. Good evening, Skywalker. Yeah, it's quite horrific, this young nurse having killed all these little babies. Budgie, good evening, sir. And Gammon Sandwich, good evening to you too. Well, to be honest, I've just found this out. This is new for me. I just found this out. Of course, I'm horrified and shocked. It's beyond words. And I don't know any of the details, and I'm not sure that I want to know any of the details. It looks pretty bad. She got convicted, but there was no actual evidence, says Streaky. Ether Elford. Hello, elephant. As I say, I just caught up with this tonight, so I know nothing about it. $8 years ago. What you said? It was 8 years ago, though. Why did it take so long to make it news? Hey, something wrong here. Surely there's something far wrong here. How did they hide that for 8 years? Good evening, Thomas Boyd. NHS failed Scotland, Glasgow. Thomas, yes, private healthcare had no choice. All best. John Davidson. Well, I don't have private health care. I've never been able to afford it. I've never been convinced it's something that we should do. Streaky's adding, child death rates went up after she was convicted also. So it was not a factor in bringing the death rates down, obviously. Hello there. You're a new name to me. I'm not saying that you're a new name, but you're just a new name to me. You're welcome here, of course. So it's all strange. I mean, if this has been around for 8 years or more, there's some weird going on. Skywalker is saying, I heard one baby didn't die. Reportedly, she went back for another try. Oh, holy moly. Jeez, oh. Exactly. I mean, injections, yeah. I can see that would be. Elephant is saying she was a Navy nurse. She was going down with the shipman. Oh, down with the shipman. Very nice. Yeah. There's something not right about this. Don't ask me what, but there's something far wrong with this whole story. I doubt we'll never get to the bottom of it. I agree with that comment, Streaky. An NHS only works in an indigenous population. I do agree with that. I certainly hope your prayers have helped. Thomas Aquinas, you appear and sound a lot better tonight. I hope that our prayers have helped. Well, I've got no doubt that they have. I took the advice and put the scarf on to keep my neck a bit warmer. Don't know if that helps. Wouldn't do any harm, I suppose. The system liked to sit on events and then release them in order to distract people from current events, says Budget. Yeah, there is that, of course, Budget. Could be that simple and that complex. Well, I realised, Steve, that this person is known to others. It's just a new name to me. That's all. All right. You've been subbed for a while, right? Okay, doke. I haven't been on someone's live stream for a while because I haven't been around for the last couple of months. William would like to know Bloody evil buggers, man. Like the dude Sweeney Todd. Did he ever cut your hair, John? Uh, I hope not. I used to go when I was a boy. I used to go to my uncle Tommy's shop. He had a shop uh, in the centre of the town, and of course, we were all sent there to support a member of the family in his own business. He's long since gone now, but his shop, of course, because the decimated the town centre. But he still has a shop with his name on it, and it does quite a good bit of business. So that's all good. Not that you get a free haircut or anything. By the way, I have watched the movie review End of Days, and I have seen it. I had seen it before, but I watched it again. I really like what's his name, Mm, Gabriel Byrne. I really like him. So I got this right. Oh, you're on a diet, are you, Steve? Well, I'm on the opposite, so to speak. I am. I'm trying to soup up. Yes, Toffee, it is that one. It's the one when Gabriel Byrne plays the devil. Schwarzenegger plays Schwarzenegger. Uh, and an old timer, Rod Stagger, plays one of the priests in it. So, yeah, that's the one. I watched it the other night again over the weekend. Uh, it's a. The thing that I also remember about this film is that it was in a lot of hype at the time because we were coming up for the millennium and all the digital clocks, excuse me, sorry about that. Yeah, the digital clocks and the computers and everywhere else were all going to return to zero, which gave the alarmists a great story. So, as we approached the millennium, uh, this became a bigger and bigger and bigger story. There was all sorts of wild speculations about what would happen to the computers. Would they stop functioning? Uh, would they just roll on as before? And that film, End of Days, uh, I would say they used that whole thing and helped promote the movie even further. I said 100 Hail Marys. I'm not even a Catholic. So I remember the hype in the film very well, and they were they weren't the only film to use this hype about the digital clocks returning to zero. In the end, of course, nothing happened. The computers went on being computers. Clocks went and continued to be clocks. Oh, I won't give you any spoilers, Steve. I'm just saying that the thing that I've always been curious about is Gabriel Byrne. I think he's really a good actor, and yet he doesn't seem to appear in very many films. And I've often wondered, is that because he has chosen not to appear? Or does he not get offered them? It's just a curious thing in my mind about him. He's not alone, of course, but he's been around for a good while now. And yet, if you were to, tally up the movies he's been in, it's not as much as you might think. No, I'm not going to talk about the movie. I'm just talking about the actor. St. Thomas Aquinas, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed art thou is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Yeah, he's another curious one, isn't he? Daniel Day-Lewis. I'm sure he gets loads of offers, and yet, again, not that I'm an expert on his movie count, but it doesn't seem to have appeared in as many movies as he could easily have. Perhaps these men are happy enough or content enough to live within their bank accounts as the bank accounts stand. It's tricky. Gabriel Byrne was in the Defence of the Realm in the 1980s, one of my top 3 films. If you care to watch, I think you'll like it. Well, I'll make a note of it. and see if I can find it. I'm always looking and interested in looking for films that are worth watching. There's so much dross going about. Defense of the Realm. Right, I've got a note of that. I'll see if I can find it. Give it a view. Thanks for that in advance. Go back a bit now. I'm way behind. No, I'm finished talking about the film, Steve. I only brought the actor Gabriel Byrne up. That was all I did, and I was talking about the hype that was going on at the turn of the millennium with this dread what would happen when all the computer clocks went to zero. I don't know if any of you remember that. That's what I was talking about. Nothing happened, of course. The computers just went on working. I don't know. I haven't seen Sensum. Well, Sensum hasn't been here for a while. Well, not since the last movie review. John Hurt, not too many either. Suppose it's quality over quantity. Yeah, and I suppose it depends on the part that they get offered. Don't be silly, Steve. I'm not talking about the movie. Blade Runner. Blade Runner. That's one of the things that I've thought a lot about on and off, and that's what would it be like, really, to be sitting, speaking to an entity that you know fine well isn't a human being, but appears to answer you like a human being? It presents interesting strains of thought for me, that idea. And would such a machine, or a robot if you prefer, sounds like my ex-missus, Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that they were coming out with, Rory. That's why I brought it up. So yeah, if you were talking to a machine like this as it's presented to us in science fiction, this independent entity that seems to have consciousness, would it have the capacity or desire to tell lies? I don't know. Skywalker is bringing up Asimov. Do androids dream of electric sheep? You see, it's a love story, Budgie. I'm watching Blade Runner on a loop these days. I love it so much. I see it as a love story now. Yeah, I can see that. I was really intrigued with the idea that when you're speaking to a very close friend, you know, a real human being, um, if you think about it, how easy um, it is in such conversations with close friends to lose oneself in the conversation as it unfolds, unravels, and finds its own way. And I wondered if such a situation could ever arise between a human being and, let's call it, an android then. I find that a fascinating idea. Would that be possible? And if it were possible, where might it lead? I mean, it presupposes so many other things, of course. Presupposes that the android that you were talking to not only had consciousness but had imagination, perhaps also needed is a past. The whole notion of a future, to have such a conversation. Yeah, I don't know. Edmund is saying Philip K. Dick wrote androids. Asimov did not. He's also added Asimov wrote 500 books on a whole range of topics. He was a walking, talking university. Skywalker. And all of these moments in time will vanish like tears in the rain, then releases a white dove, then shuts down. Yeah, the end of Blade Runner. Beautiful piece of cinema. Packer is asking me, have you seen a film called Zoe? No, I have not seen it, Packer. Is it something I should see? You reckon? Mannequin Skywalker. This is a piece of thinking that I have on and off quite regularly these days. Even if we can, even we could produce an android that had consciousness, that wouldn't be enough, really, would it? Because we're more than consciousness. We need imagination as well as consciousness. And we need memory. Not simply to remember things. That's only one function of memory. The other part of the other function of memory is to mold those memories, reshape them. It's about androids, says Parker, with Ewan McGregor. No, I haven't seen it. Should I look out for it? I'll write that down, Parker. Rory wants to know how I'm getting on with the cigarettes. Zoe, Z-O-E. Two potential movies. So, right, got that. Well, I was giving up the cigarettes going, John. Well, I still haven't had one. Well, I don't have, for the present time anyway, I don't have the desire. So I guess I'm doing all right. Most of the time, I don't think about the cigarettes, to be honest. Of course, one of the things that has happened, and uh, is that since my illness, I my input of coffee is at the present time something like 2 to 3 cups. That's it. Now I'm putting that, and I'm saying that because what I'm assuming is that in my mind and my memory and all the rest of it, coffee and cigarettes went together. You have a cigarette, you have a coffee. If you have a coffee, you have a cigarette. And because I'm not having cigarettes, then I'm not having coffee, and I'm not looking for it. Now that's just my thinking. Right, what we got? Uh, Packer. Zoe is a 2018 American romantic science fiction film directed by Drake Dormis and starring Ewan McGregor. Right. I'll have a look and see if I can find it. Never heard of it, Packer. No, no cigarettes, Skywalker. No cigarettes. No cigars. No joints. No nothings. Well, all I can say, Streaky, to answer your question, um, I think it was the way the illness took me. You know, that Friday night when I was doing the poetry stream, the following day, I had a couple of, I think I had 3 cigarettes in my case. I smoked them through the morning and afternoon. Um, I sent out for a packet. My son was good enough to go and get me a packet. I put them in my case, and that was it. I didn't look for a cigarette the rest of the day. But as I say, that day I was doing an awful lot of coughing. I was bringing up a lot of phlegm, etc., etc., etc. So that was an obstacle to smoking. It seemed obvious if I was like that and I tried to smoke a cigarette, it would only have got worse. But it never came into my mind. And now I've got added to that I got pills from the doctor to help with the coughing and the phlegm. So that has gone down somewhat the amount of coughing that I do. It's not completely gone, of course, but these pills have helped. I've been smoking like a trooper recently. I really need to lay off the rollies, says Toffee. Something I was never good at, rolling cigarettes. Yeah, never good at it. Oh, I think it did, Streaky. I think that's the thing. I think my whole internal landscape was changed that day. Um, Shock, I expect, perhaps fear that I wasn't aware of. Um, Smoking was never in my mind at all. And I think that's probably true that my internal landscape's been changed. Because I've heard over my lifetime, of course, I've heard so many people saying about they're going to give up smoking, and you hear them all saying the same things. It's okay to begin with, and then they start to get that taste in their mouth that you get when you're looking for a cigarette. And I don't get it. I don't get that taste. Non-smokers won't know what the hell I'm talking about, but if you're either a smoker or an ex-smoker, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, I have not had it. I don't get it, which is strange. So I think what you're saying is probably true, Streaky. I think my internal landscape was rearranged for me. Yeah, I remember that film. That was quite a controversial film, Budgie, when it came out. Yeah, Stepford Wives. Feminists were not happy about that at all. Well, you always get these movies where, well, in fact, I don't think there's ever been a movie where Android or the robot has ever had a good ending. They're always they're always up to no good. Exile Viking. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't think he's talking to me. He's talking to Streaky. That's interesting what you're saying there, Toffee. I don't have evidence It's just anecdotal, but I'm convinced that women find it easier to quit smoking than men. I know so many women who've packed it in. Uh, was really easy for them. I can't say I've noticed that, to be honest. Well, having said that, the girls quit. They still get the all the symptoms of wanting to get back on it again, of course. I don't know about that one, Toffee. I'm not going to disagree with you. You probably got a point. I can't say I've noticed. My mother was the same when my mother uh, had she took thrombosis in her leg, obviously, when she was 59, 58, 59, was taken into hospital and, you know, looked after. She was told that the next cigarette would be the one that would kill her. So she never smoked again, and she just came out of the hospital, and that was the end of her smoking. She always had the desire, though. I mean, it was always there, but she never went back on it. Considering the length of time that she was a smoker, from girlhood. Well, I've been smoking since what, 15 up to 77. I think you're right there, Edmund. If feminists were happy, they wouldn't be feminists. Rory, my wife came across a Bakelite cigarette holder in a somewhat battered leather holder made by Cecil's of London. I think it's probably from the 1920s. Where did yours come from? He's asking. Well, it was a shop in Glasgow, uh, tobacconist owned by uh, a young man that I became friendly with, and he sold them, yeah, cigarette holders, and that's where I bought my first one. But what happened is I stuck with that brand. It was fine. The brand was fine. It came, of course, with its own peculiar filter. But as the years rolled on, I noticed, to begin with, I would have to squeeze the cigarette into the holder, which was fine. But as the years rolled on, um, the cigarette became smaller than the cigarette holder. And quite often, if I was smoking and if I was leaning over like this, the cigarette would just fall out. So then what I had to do is find another make, and I found another make, and I found it in the same shop, which was smaller. And so I was back to when you put a cigarette in it, it was um, tight. And this was a German make. So what did that tell me? Well, it told me that cigarette manufacturers were secretly making the cigarettes smaller in diameter and length. The filters were getting longer, the cigarettes were getting shorter. The process of the tobacco had changed over the years. It was no longer similar to rolling tobacco. It had become dry and they all tasted the same. In fact, I used to show this, I could demonstrate it for you by taking a cigarette and turning it up and just rolling it between my fingers, and you would see all the tobacco falling out of it. That never used to happen in bygone days because the tobacco were in that similar condition that you get roll up tobacco in. So the whole process of presenting tobacco to the public had changed. For the worse, of course, not for the better, but for the worse. And then again, I couldn't help but notice a number of years back, my sister, who knows nothing about cigarettes and smoking, um, as part of my Christmas present, bought me a packet of Benson and Hedges. Now, Benson and Hedges was a brand that when I was a younger man, I smoked them all the time. But again, they became more and more expensive, and I had to stop using them. Too expensive for me. But she bought me this packet, and I noticed that Benson and Hedges, the tobacco in them was much more the same way as tobacco had always been. So it was the cheaper brands that was being changed, the brands that the general public would be using. And at that time, if I remember correctly, my sister paid, I think she paid about £16 for a packet of Benson and Hedges. Toffee. I must just know a lot of determined, determined, uh, strong-minded women. Women usually are on certain topics and issues. Depends. I have to say that cigarette holders are quite impressive and even gentlemanly, says Rory. You certainly don't see many people using them these days. No, you don't. In all the years that I was using one, uh, about 40 years, I suppose, I never met anyone who used one. Met people who would ask me about them. In fact, quite a few people would ask me where to buy them. I used them because they had the filter inside that gathered not all but a large volume of the tar from each cigarette and held it. And that's the reason I used them, for that very reason. Took some of the nicotine, but not a great deal of it. So it was mainly for the tar. And when you see that, as you can when you're using one, yeah, you understand why medical people will tell you how dangerous it all is. Uh, Yeah, and I think a lot of, well, I know a lot of actors were paid money to smoke cigarettes when they were on screen making movies, along with women. No doubt they were getting paid to use cigarette holders as well. You would see that in quite a few movies back in the 30s and 40s. Yep, I bought it straight off the boat in William. Yeah, let's show up in Glasgow. Then you have to buy the filters, of course, and depending on how you smoke will dictate how many of these filters you go through. Well, of course they did that. I used to do that when I again you've got to remember back in time. Okay, if I go back in time to when I was young, a young man, there were no uh, tipped cigarettes. That came along later. To begin with, there was just cigarettes, open ended both sides. And so people would tap one side to make sure that all the tobacco was inside the cigarette itself. Otherwise, it would terrible habit and it ended up in your mouth and you were picking out the bits of tobacco. So they would tap them or on their case if they had a case. But that's because there were no tipped cigarettes. That came along. And again, from a manufacturer's point of view, it was a brilliant innovation because you were getting less cigarette, less tobacco. same money. Hedges and fences. That's why they did that, streaky. You'll see it in the movies still. Some of the old movies, you'll see them do that. Regal. Yeah. Well, again, that was part of my photographic training. I think I've told you before, when I was training to be a photographer, we were all encouraged to have these library of photographs. And a lot of them tended to be cigarette adverts because of the money that was poured into advertising cigarettes. It's still photographs. Benson and Hedges began to produce a very, very high quality set of images, became a whole series of images, one developing after the other. It was incredible. And photographic students like me would keep these photographs as inspiration, get ideas from them to make our own photographs. Just like art, it was an art form. Yeah, this sponsored snooker. John Player specials. Says streaky. Richmond, Virginia. Well, again, that Treble M's quite right, bringing that aspect into it. I had a gold Dunhill lighter until someone nicked it. Around here, when I was a young man, as a teenager, um, all the young lads that got engaged in those days. This is true. Uh, the tradition was, I don't know if it still is, but the tradition was that the girl would buy her fiance a present, and he would, of course, buy her engagement ring. And more often than not, she'd buy him a gas lighter. Because most of the lads smoked. So it was very prestigious because the gas lighters came with a little velvet bag, and you put it in your jacket pocket, and it's very suave and sophisticated, to take this out in a pub or at a party. And show off. There's a whole culture around it, all of this stuff. It wasn't just smoking cigarettes, there was a lot more to it than that. And that created a mythology which helped to sell cigarettes, of course. I'm not trying to justify any of this. I'm trying to give you some kind of insight to what it was like back then. What age am I talking about? I'm talking about me being 14 and 15. starting out in life, times you get to college and this whole mystique of photographing cigarette packets and cigarettes and how to make them look desirable. Because that's what you were trying to do. You're selling a product. So the whole idea of the photograph that you would take would be to get the customer to buy the cigarettes. And I've shown you them. I mean, I took them out one night and showed you them. Exiled. My cigarettes back in my former were very diverse. They consisted of, oh, Gaulois. I used to smoke them. I loved them, Gaulois. Disco Blue, Spanish Ducans, Benson Hedges, of course. The after smell of the Gaulois was more desirable due to black tobacco. I used to smoke this blue. Enjoyed them too. They were very, very strong though. Very strong. Again, very expensive because they were imported from France. Again, they became too expensive for me. I don't remember that toffee. And I remember those coin machines in arcades. One of the things you could win was a 20 deck of Regal. The good old days. Yeah. Ah, yeah, I used to. I knew a guy who smoked them, Russian Sobrani, on and off. But most of the time, you see, these exotic brands were really outside the reach of working class people such as myself. I loved this blue. Eventually, I couldn't afford it, like Benson and Hedges. Eventually, I couldn't afford it. All the people I knew who were experimenting, if you like, with such as uh, Sobrani, the French cigarettes, this blue, and some of the others, which were less exotic but just as expensive. They all went by the wayside because of the cost. And of course, the early James Bond movies helped to elevate all this cigarette smoking to a new level because that's what he did. He smoked Russian Sobrani. And so people would follow it. Dunhill flags. 2 compartments of 10 in a wide packet. I would buy them to impress in a smart pub. Yeah, this is the kind of thing we were all doing because we were all young. We were trying to impress girls. We were trying to impress other guys. It was all part of the growing up. And of course, you were being influenced all the time by Hollywood movies or British movies. Sometimes they would have them. And to say I came across it again when I started training as a photographer. Senior service, my granddad smoked them. Yeah, my granddad also smoked these cigarettes as well. Uh, Senior service and its mate. Toffee. I used to rob my mother's Dorchester's mentals. It was like smoking toothpaste. Oh, good, I tell you. Like having a polo before a ciggy. Very good, Skywalker. Like snooker case. Yeah, granddad was a stoker in the Navy. Oh, my granddad was a manager in a pub. Yeah, senior service. Well, as I say, they came in. The tipped cigarettes came in. But to begin with, all cigarettes were untipped. I can see why manufacturers would push tipped cigarettes. It's easy to see that. Less cigarette, less tobacco, same price, more profit. So there you go. That's what that was all about. Capson did. Capson full strength. Skywalker. Senior service had the anchor on it. David William, son of a lamb. Good evening, David. JPS, John Player Specials. Brings back memories. Grew up in Nottingham where they manufactured them. There's a saying in the area that JPS were the sweepings from the floor. I'll bet they did say that. I'll bet there was a certain amount of truth in it too. We see that was another thing that went. Of course, we used to have cigarette manufacturers up in Glasgow as well. I've told you about that before. I was involved in that down here, unloading the ships with the raw tobacco. I smoked a Russian cigarette once, says Budgie. It was a long cardboard tube with a small amount of tobacco at the end. It burned the throat off you. I'll bear it. Jesus. Well, my granda smoked caps in full strength, so you won't be at all surprised when I tell you that he died of throat cancer. Is it really toffee? Sterling. I didn't even know they made them. Made it. Rolling tobacco. Thank you very much, David. I appreciate that. So thanks for your kind words. Streaky. The fags I am smoking now are £5 a packet from a dodgy Afghan I know, and they are sound, as good as Rothmans or any other cheap brand. I have been selling them in work like hot cakes. Now, I'm not surprised at £5 a packet. My God, of course you'll sell them. Oh God, something getting done now. Gavin, good evening. My brother was on TV in the 1980s. JPS refused to pay the 25 grand he'd won. Old Holborn, there's another one. Rolling tobacco, or is it not a pipe tobacco? Well, I can only say, Rory, that when I was a young guy smoking them, well, I smoked these things when what age would I be? Uh, 22, 23. Yeah, I found them okay. I enjoyed them. As I said, I stopped smoking them because of the cost. That's what put me off it, as most of the people I knew, most of the guys I knew were all trying out exotic brands of cigarettes. And ultimately, we all stopped it for the same reason. We couldn't afford it. That's simple. I dread to think what a packet of Galwas would cost you now. Just dread to think, or Russian Sobrani. To be honest, says Bass, smoking a cigar from the old Dutch Indies or a local pipe tobacco is more enjoyable than fags. I would certainly agree. My favourite cigar has always been a Monte Cristo number two. Very difficult to get, pretty expensive if you do get them. But wow, what a great smoke! In fact, I run into some good fortune. Was it? I think it was the second time we went to Spain. And we went to the local cigarette shop to buy our supply. And as always, I was looking at the cigars, and there on the shelf, I spotted a box of 25 of these beautiful cigars. So obviously, I bought them. Monte Cristo number twos, 25 of them. Beautiful. Savored them. Yeah, Exile's a pipe smoker now. I would say he's pretty limited. He quite limits himself to how much he smokes. Well, any time he was ever in my company, I only smoke a pipe, as John knows, and I do smoke the occasional cigar. Yeah, and he was kind enough to bring a couple of cigars down to me when he was visiting me at one point. Uh, Thomas Boyd, thank you very much for your kind words, sir. Players number 6. You tired, Steve? Well, why don't you just clock out and go to bed? if you're tired. Woodbine. Oh gosh, I remember Woodbine exiled. Not that I smoked them, but my Auntie Annie smoked them all her life. And very often, if she was visiting, I would be sent for 10 Woodbine. Yeah, go for it. Go, Steve, and sleep if you're tired, my friend. Don't feel as though you need to stay up on my behalf. It's tricky. I went from Benson and Hedges in the 90s to Embassy in the knots to JPS in the 2010s before hitting rock bottom, Rothmans and Form Flags now. Captain full strength, Merchant Navy 6. Well, to say that's what my grandma smoked all his life. No, I don't remember that bus. Bats, rather. I remember the brands aimed at women, like Belinda, disgustingly sweet cell. No, I can't say. No, I don't honestly remember. There'd be adverts aimed at women, of course. A lady always make chocolate. It's like music to my ears whenever I manage to make John laugh, says Toffee. Ugly Truth, there's a new name for me again. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Ugly Truth. Don't you start talking about food, Skywalker, and make us all hungry. Captain's full strength, and they were a smoke. They were indeed. You paid extra too for these things. Can't answer that, tic tac. Why do I get giggles when all band giggles? Yeah, yeah. I'm not going to ask Tricky how you know this. crystal meth. It's smoother on the throat than captain full strip. I'm not going to ask. I'm not. Jesus. Crystal meth. Streaky. I got women fags I sell for £8. They got black tips and are long and slim. They look smart, to be honest. Yeah, I can see that appealing to the women. Yeah, yeah. You got it in there, didn't you, Skywalker? The kippers, the Lochfine kippers. Yummy, yummy. Camel, a great French fag I can get genuine at £6. You're obviously entrepreneurial, Streaky. Well, that's what I thought, Exiled. I thought Camel was an American brand. Oh, for goodness sake. Gammon sandwich, put me right. Sobrani Black, £25 for 20. Good God, that's more than £1 each. Jesus. 25 quid. Bus. Remember, Afghan hashish was great too. Face orange, raised eyebrow. A cover, definitely American. I agree with Toffee. I like the Lucky Strike as well. Yeah. £20. Jesus. ugly truth. I, s- I smoked Marlboro Red for years. I had to stop as I started sounding like Darth Vader. Oh, is that the reason, right? Well, that was thoughtful. I reduced my pipe use so as not to stink out your kitchen, John. Thoughtful, very thoughtful. Well, off you go. Go to your bed, listen and lurk. Fall asleep. Streaky saying, my old man used to send me down the off license as a kid to get 20 Woodbine, the green and white packets. Yeah, Annie only ever sent me for 10. Embassy number 6, yeah. I'm going to get some to eat myself after the stream. I destroyed a whole industry, exiled, what they've done to the UK. But it's not just the UK. I like the designs of the packets and the plain designs haven't stopped anyone from smoking. Of course they haven't. It destroyed the whole industry, design industry. But who the hell cares? Nobody cares a damn. Same as all the jobs and things that fed off the pubs when the smoking ban was brought in, and the pubs suffered many closures. One time it was something like 1,000 a week, and all the jobs that grew from that. Like I used to say, ashtrays. The people who made the ashtrays supplied ashtrays for pubs. Many other different things. But nobody cared. It was just, we want this, and that was it. And after a good deal of pressure, they got it. Well, if you've got to get up for work in 7 hours, streaky, you're best to go and have a good sleep. You need to get your sleep. Nothing worse than going to your work tired. I was an expert at that. Thanks for that, Steve. John, ugly truth is sound as a pound. Funny to boot. Well, as I say, I always say that when it's a new name to me, and it's just a new name to me, that's all. So if you're going off, Steve, go and uh, get your rest, my friend. Um, Obviously, I'm not planning a Thursday live stream. I, of course, will be here on Friday, assuming my medical procedure goes okay. No reason to think otherwise. I'll, I'll go and get my medical procedure done. My intention is to come back. I probably won't feel like eating anything and have a good sleep to myself and get over the trauma of it all. So I'll be ready for the movie review. One of my relatives, Toffee, earned that kind of money. 1,000 a week. He worked in the offshore oil business. He was a semi-trained guy doing ultrasonic checking, and that's the kind of money he would get abroad, tax-free, of course. Well, of course, and all the other stupid move is hiding the cigarette packets behind flapping doors. All that is done to confuse the shop person to search for the brand you want. A law made by a non-smoker, no doubt. I would agree with you. I would certainly agree with that. These, my argument has always been, and I haven't changed, although I'm not presently smoking myself. If you want to smoke cigarettes, you'll smoke them. If you don't want to smoke them, you won't smoke them. No amount of destruction to the packet on the outside, no amount of hiding the cigarettes behind, as Exile is saying here, these stupid shelves that they've got. None of that will stop it, ever. They don't want it stopped. What they want is they want the pain in the butts, the woke brigade. They want the woke brigade to see that they are doing something about it. That's what this is all about. And that's my feeling on the matter. That it was done. Well, it was done for many reasons, but that's one of them. Cigarettes, cigarette bans was death knell to the pulp trade. Of course it was. And now most tobacco is produced in Europe where it's cheaper to do so, like a lot of industries. Yeah, that's right. Well, you see, they conned the the publican. Apparently, there was a grand meeting in Edinburgh with the brewers and private owners, and they were told that if their pubs no longer had smokers, they would be in a position to sell more food. It would also encourage more families to come into the pub. That's the story that they were told. And to some extent, that might have happened, but not enough. What they were really afraid of was giving each individual pub the possibility of choice. There lay in the real danger because if there were, say, five guys going out on a Friday night and two of them are smokers, the other three are going to go with the two smokers to whatever pub they're going to go to. And they are going to go to the pub that allows them to smoke inside. And so the pubs that banned, in a case like that, a pub that then banned cigarette smoking would do a lot less trade because all the cigarette smokers, their pals or girlfriends or wives, would go with them to the place where they could smoke inside. And that's why it could never have been allowed to have been a choice for each premises. Because the pubs that said, no, we're not going to allow smoking, would have been the ones that shut. And the ones that would remain would be the ones who allowed their customers to smoke if they wish. And that's why there was no choice given. It was just a complete straight, it's banned, end of story. And they were sold as this illusion that that Scotland and Britain would suddenly become very European, very Mediterranean, where you would have families come in and buy food and the children would be there. And, well, of course, we don't have that history. And it never happened. Who the hell thought hiding cigarettes was going to stop anyone from lighting up? Yeah, exactly. Only an out of touch bureaucrat. Well, I don't frequent corner shops myself. I have a policy, always have had. Well, not always have had. I've had for 25 years at least. I do not use shops that are operated by non-local people, if you take my drift. I just don't go there. I'll go past one of those shops. Always have done. I encourage others to do the same. Well, thanks, Steve. I'm hoping everything will go all right. There's no reason why it shouldn't. It's one of these. It's pretty ordinary these days what they're going to do. So I've got no real fears about it. As I say, that's my intention. Go there, get it done, come home, uh, and go for a sleep, and hopefully recover. And even if I don't properly recover, I will be here on Friday night. David William, son of Lam. John Player employed thousands in Nottingham, now part of some bigger corporation, and shut all production work in Nottingham. I moved to Eastern Europe. Yeah, well, that's what they all did, essentially. That's what they all did. They took their money and went. Took their money and went. Well, I'm closing up myself, Gavin Sandwich, so good night to you too, my friend, and thanks for being here. It's nearly 11, so I'll be bringing on the music. So I'll just do that now while I'm talking about it. There we go. Want to be there, want to be here, or better still, want to be there. That's better. So you see, I wore a scarf to keep my neck warm, and I hope you've noticed. I'm sure you have that I didn't do much coughing. Oh, that's incredibly thoughtful, Tremline. I appreciate that. We are praying for you in our prayer group. I see you. 53. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And you're also kind and thoughtful. Be thinking of you, John, says Skywalker. I'm sure you're right, Viking. There are plenty of smokers in the woke brigade, John, but they are also the ones who'll make excuses for all the pointless rules. Yeah, I'm sure you're right. Can you imagine what would happen to this country? Seriously, just for an instant thing of this. If suddenly the whole of the UK, every single smoker, never bought another packet of cigarettes and finished what they had as their supply. Can you imagine what would happen? There'd be an emergency meeting of the cabinet in number 10. That's what would happen. They would be running about like headless chickens, wondering how the hell they're going to get the cigarette smokers back to buying cigarettes. If, if you could ever organize such a thing, you would see eruptions in this country. A rebellion of people just refusing to buy it, to buy cigarettes. Just don't buy anymore. I'm telling you, there would be the heart attacks, not by the cigarette smokers, but by the politicians. Your dad, you're saying, David William is saying the old man had a pub in Nottingham for 2 decades. That's very impressive. That. So, good evening, Ludwig. Nice to see you here too. I'm just finishing up, by the way. Well, this is correct. What they did is they successfully changed it from being an issue about freedom and choice into a health issue because people in general, especially in the West, are terrified of death. But anyway, I'm going to say, oh, I've always done that wherever possible, David William. Spot on, John. Shop local and with local folk. Absolutely. Absolutely. I walk past their places all the time. And when I was smoking, obviously up until very recently when I was still smoking, um, that would take me out of my way. It would be more convenient if I just went in there, but I wouldn't do it. I refuse to do it. I just wouldn't encourage them. In fact, there is still one, right in the centre of the town. Must tell you this, it's a great story. And not satisfied with selling all the usual things that they sell, newspapers, lemonades, and crisps, and cigarettes, and all that stuff, right? All the usual things that you would expect in a store like that. They started selling sandwiches because it's a terminus for the local bus service, just outside their shop. So they started making sandwiches rolls and all that stuff. You know, all the usual things that you would expect. And that went on for quite a while. And it was a lady that did this. She did, that was what her side of the job was. She'd make all these sandwiches and hot rolls and whatnot up. And then it became cups of tea and, right? That went on for some time. Now, I know all this because I've spoken to her. But along the way, she had an argument with this guy, this foreigner, because she wanted a bit more money, and he refused to give it. So she walked out, just walked out of the shop. 2 shops up from that shop was an empty shop, which she then took on. And now she runs her own business selling fried egg rolls and hamburger rolls and sandwiches and cups of tea and coffee and whatnot to the local bus company guys and gals and the general public, of course. She's done very well, her own little business. So he got real egg in his face because he refused to give her a bit more money. So I thought that was great. Absolutely great. And she's still there. That's what, 6, 7 years now? Good evening, Julia. Yeah, I know, it's 11 o'clock. Thank you for reminding me, though. I'm going. I promise I'm going. Yeah. I thought that'd be an interesting story for you. This little woman, she just said, "Nah, not having it," and took on the shop. Now she's got a couple of people working for her, locals, of course, which is all great. Anyway, it's time. Oh, thank you. That's a nice thought. Angels are camped out around me. That's a nice thought. I like that, Travel M. That's nice. Oh, there's Robert. Good evening, Robert. Yes, Sir Thomas, or Saint Thomas, should I say. Don't be terrified of death. Just remember to pray the rosary and you will be fine. Well, she does a great business where she is, and good luck to her. I hope she continues that way. She deserves it. Anyway, I'm going to say night night, folks. It's time to go. I shall see you on Friday night, and look forward to the movie review. End of Days, easy to find. Couch Turner or Turner Couch, you'll find it there. And I want to thank you all again for being here. I really do appreciate it, and all the kind words and prayers and thoughts. Thank you for all of that. And as I always say, au revoir, cheerio. That's not what I always say. I always say adios, au revoir, cheerio. And until Friday, 9 o'clock, goodbye for now. Enjoy the music. I'll get out of the way.
Silently the snow falls, paints a winter scene, swiftly spreads the dark rim, hides the fading autumn green. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, conjure friendships dear to me. Lightly now the breeze flows, disturbing more than just the leaves. But life's much more than we can know. We are one small glow in the eternal flow. Patiently the love grows, lifts the weary heart. Gently now she holds me, melts two worlds once apart. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, usher dreams of you and me. Softly then the breeze blows, disturbing more than just the trees. But love's much more than we can know. We are one small glow in the eternal flow. Melodies of long ago, songs of innocence, harmonies to soothe the soul, have some consequence. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, awakening joys of you and me. Silently the snow falls, bringing winter symphony. But we're much more than we can know. We are one small glow in the eternal flow. But life's much more than we can know. We are one small glow in the eternal flow.
Take care, folks.